Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Told you guys about put me in my place and the problematicness of that statement. We're going to really dive deep into today's topic and really get to the crux of why it's dysfunctional and toxic to say put me in my place. Now I know I'm going to trigger some of y'all, I know I'm going to trigger some of you ladies, but please listen to me very, very carefully. We're going to really drop some gems today and get you guys to think differently about this term, put me in my place. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, you click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you returnees, well, you got the minerals, you got the minerals. Alright, let's talk about it. So, put me in my place. I want to start with this particular phrase here. We don't eat the whole pineapple, we eat the essentials of the pineapple, which is the inside, the nutrients, the flesh of the fruit. And we leave the shell and put it in the bin. And there's a reason why. It has no purpose for us except to cover the nutrients that's inside. And when we say put me in my place, I want to make it very, very clear. I do understand what women mean when they say put me in my place. Well, some of you women mean when you say put me in my place. And so we are dealing with a shell, but we need to take the inside nutrients of that term and actually repackage it and bring it back to you. We need to get rid of this word put me in my place because it has no place in a relationship. It has no place in healthy relationships, okay? It is a learned dysfunction and toxicity that has been breaded as normal, okay? Right? Just like you grew up in a dysfunctional house and you thinking it's normal behavior. It's not. All right, cool. So I want to start with this idiom, put me in my place idiom. It says, the idiom of put me in my place is to humble or lower the dignity of one. Now I need to make that very clear. To lower the dignity of one. Can you imagine? Someone wants to lower your dignity, you know, and this is something that you want to correlate with being positive. It's not. To make one aware that they are not as important, respected, influential as they think. Now I can understand that. There's a bit of pride in all of us, and sometimes we do need a little clip around the ear. You know what I'm saying? But do we need to be in a place where we are having to take you down a peg? You know what I mean? Like, that should speak to us as individuals, that individually within ourselves we're unable to regulate this behavior that sometimes overbears other people. Now, let me talk about something. The term put me in my place. I want a man to put me in my place. You know what I'm saying? I'm expecting a man. I need that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? Rah, rah, rah. And I'll say this, look. If you need a man to put you in your place, how would you feel? And I know you're going to say it's not a correlation, but just listen to it very carefully. If you need a man to put you in your place to make you behave accordingly from time to time, how would you feel if a man said to you, I need a girl to put me in my place so that I don't cheat? Now, I know you might say, well, cheating is different from obviously my bad behavior, but it's bad behavior in general. It's toxic in general. You understand? Yeah, it boils down to desire. When you take the crux of both of these behaviors, it boils down to your desire and lack of restraint and control over your bad behavior. Your unwillingness to say, I must take control of me and say this is wrong. You see, when Joseph was in Egypt, the reason why he did not commit the sin, he said, I cannot commit this against God. So the moral compass wasn't with my own moral code, it was with what I believe God will not be happy with. And so some of you lack a restraint, me included. We lack a restraint and we say, I need someone to put the brakes on me. No, you need to put the brakes on you. Because if you're having to wait for someone to put the brakes on you, your dysfunction is speaking. It says more about your behavior and about your lack of restraint in being able to control yourself, and therefore that is why now you're unable to control yourself in this department. So now your bad behavior's got I need a little slap on the wrist verbally. It says a lot about you than it doesn't say about the other person. But I want to make this very clear. When people have put me back in my place, they often meet people who are people pleasers. And that can then further exasperate and actually further induce the person to say, hey, this is the reason why I definitely do not want a man that can't put me in my place, okay? If you meet a people pleaser, I'll be very honest, they will lack the ability to be communicative in a way that they can say, hey, these are my needs and this is what I want from you. And so I do understand when, women do meet people pleasers and they have a strong personality and dynamic, and that man will refuse to be able to speak on their behalf. But that's not put me in my place. And so this is my second point. Or my first point. Put me in my place is birthed out of dysfunction and inability to distinguish between qualities. You're close, but you're not there yet. The put me in my place is actually the shell to the nutrients. As I said to you about the pineapple. The put me in my place, okay, is encapsulating something that actually is true, which is that you need a man to be assertive. You want a man to lead. You want a man to take charge, but in a loving manner. You see, but when you say put me in my place, as I put before, the description of it and the connotation of it is not positive. It's the shell, but it's the nutrients inside of it that you need. So we need to crack the shell and get the truthfulness out and repackage it to you. All right, cool. So distinguishing these qualities, as I said, like I said, assertiveness, control, dominance. And so actually it's really interesting because when you look at the reasons why women date bad boys, they are doing what we call put me in my place. And when I say that in the terms of the pineapple situation, they are seeing the fruit. It look good, it look good, man. You understand? But they are seeing the inside and what it can be. It's almost like Eve again in the garden, kind of perceiving what she could see. They can see that there are some good qualities within it. It's good for food. It's good for the eyes to see. It's good for wisdom. And so she sees the bad boy. She sees his assertiveness. She sees his spontaneity. She sees his ability to control the room and control his environment. He sees how men respect him and revere him. She sees also as well how if she gets, and this is a key thing, if she gets with him, how he is worshipped or how he is submitted to by other males in that environment or other females in that environment is the same way she will be revered and worshipped. I keep telling you, this worship thing is real. Women, they get with a man who is this bad boy, alright, yeah, who is spontaneous, assertive, is dominant, speaks his mind, doesn't hold back, lets you know where you stand, yeah. There is an element of safety for a lot of women in that aspect because the man is able to dictate and tell you this is the plan, this is where we're going, this is my vision, and you're on board or you're not with me, whichever it is. And so girls are getting onto it and being taken care of in that aspect. But what's the problem with bad boys? They do what they want, when they want, whenever they want, irrespective of your feelings. And so now that's the downside of the bad boy. So now you see that it's not assertiveness, it's dominance. And you see that, oh, not that they're keeping you safe, it's controlling. Oh, now you try to lead the relationship, you'll never get no one better than me. It's manipulation and mind games. So there is some aspect which is positive about the bad boy that draws women to him. And similarly enough, put me in my place is exact same thing. So it's about understanding that, right? Being able to understand that. And so what we need to take from that is what is the key things here. Women want, when they say put me in my place, what do they truly mean? Because they don't really mean put me in my place. Look, if you went to work one day and you wouldn't describe your boss putting you in your place as a positive experience. I'm telling you now. Some of you ladies, if your boss was putting you in your place, some of you would not be, you won't be excited, bro. You wouldn't be excited. Trust me, you wouldn't be excited. But in a relationship, it seems like this is normal behavior. I expect my man to put me in my position. And actually, that's not what you're actually really saying. Because when we ask for what you really mean, you actually state what you actually mean. And that's why I said put me in my place is a shell. And it's incorrect to label everything as put me in my place. So here it is. Some of you will say that you want a man to tell you when you are wrong. You want a man to let you know when you're being unreasonable. When you're being over demanding. Okay, when you're not being conscious and bearing in mind his particular feelings and emotions. When you feel like, obviously, when you're overreacting, you need someone to calm you down. You need someone who's not a doormat. You need somebody who's going to take charge, who's going to lead the relationship. These are aspects of what you want when you say, put me in my place, okay? But why don't you just say that then? Because you don't have the vocabulary for it, number one. And number two, you're unable to distinguish between the qualities and the dysfunction. You're unable to take the pineapple from the inside and the shell. You're unable to do it. So you're just eating the whole thing. But you know, look, we don't eat the whole pineapple. We cut it, we open it, and we eat the flesh of the pineapple, right? We don't eat the shell. You know what I'm saying? We're not meant to eat the shell. Do you get it? So what happens in relationships is that people, instead of just cutting open a pineapple and getting the truthfulness and getting the qualities that they actually really meant, they just take the whole pineapple and then they eat it. And then they realize their stomach is hurting and their mouth is hurting because it's rough, it's edged. So deep it, your relationships, this is how you're, and see, if you've been eating pineapples raw like that for a long time, you will see no problem with eating pineapples raw. You will ask us why we're not eating pineapples raw like that. And yet when someone's taking a knife to cut the pineapple and present it, you won't understand it because you're used to eating it that way. Even with your mouth bleeding and your lips all cut from the roughness of the pineapple, you still don't complain because this is now your normality. Do you see? And so this rhetoric of put me in my place, I often see it come after, and it's funny because it doesn't often come. It does come, it doesn't often come when they've dated really nice guys. No, this comes when there is there's a failure of a male input in a correct measure of what assertiveness, leadership, love, and submittance is really established in the home. This starts from when you were a child. This starts from then. And some people pick it up when they get into relationships. They have very multiple bad partners. If I look at your exes and all of them are trash, and you telling me you want me to put you in your place, they've been doing that all the while, and you still didn't have a successful relationship. You should obviously deep it that it's not put me in my place that you're asking for. There is a quality within that. There's a quality within that you're looking for. Stop eating a pineapple raw and cut it open. Oftentimes this comes from a place of, like I said, childhood, where actually what was given to you may seem normal, but it wasn't, right? Because the number one, you lack restraint in that area, which means you weren't taught that, listen, this behavior just needs to be checked from early. When train a child in the way to go, and he will surely lead that path. Like, if you train that child to have restraint, to be disciplined in certain areas, that child will grow up and be disciplined and restrained in those areas more time than not. Yeah? My mouth is dry. And so we pick up on learned behaviors. Okay, we pick up on learned behaviors. And so, especially women asking for put me in my place, they've probably seen a very traditional, and I would say, and not all tradition is good, you know, my G. Not all good tradition is good. Some of you will, some of you have your cake and you eat it. That's the problem, and you think that that's tradition. That's not tradition. When you get to real tradition, you will see what tradition is. When males have the ability to have traditional, and they have all the power in the world, it is up to that male now to make sure that they utilize the authority and the power they have correctly. If you look at the world that we're in right now, male patriarchy as it leads, are males treating people the way they should be treated? If they have power to do whatever they want to do, are they treating the people they need to treat correctly? Yeah, you can see it. All major atrocities are led by who? Men. In what? Power. In what? Tradition. And when I say tradition, I'm talking about the fact that there's a traditional hierarchy, men in charge. And so this idea that this is a normalization of put me in my place, I'm telling you, man, there's a dysfunction behind it. Why do I know that? Because it's all about your lack of restraint. It's all about the fact that you have not done self-development in this area. I don't need you to restrain me. Now, there are things in my life, yes, that I need to grow out of, and the things that everyone needs to grow out of, right? But it shouldn't be that you're now my restraint. It should be that I understand. Okay, for instance, when a girl says, put me in my place, they're very much aware of their own dysfunction. They're very much aware they can be rude. They're very much aware that they can overbear. They're very much aware they can dominate. So if you're aware of these things that you can dominate, you can take advantage of, you can you are aware of your dysfunction. Oh, so Do you see what I'm saying? You're aware, and now what you're saying is, I choose not to handle that dysfunction, and I choose to let you handle it, and I'll call it, yes, as a male, you're leading me. No, you're dysfunctional. Sort it out. Sort it out. You're dysfunctional. Sort it out. The problem is, there are also dysfunctional males who will agree to dysfunction, and so therefore, in some shape or form, it does kind of work. But the truth of the matter is, it's not that. It's not put me in my place. It's assertiveness being looked at as put me in my place. Okay? You know, and here's the thing about put me in my place as well. The put me in my place as well oftentimes comes with, oh, I just say things as they are. That's why I can't have a soft male. I need a man. I need a man when I'm being rude and when I'm being obnoxious. I need him to tell me, listen, can't to pack it in. Whilst I agree that there is an aspect of a person setting up boundaries, I want to be very, very clear. There is an aspect of someone setting up a boundary to say, hey, what you're doing right there, it's not right. But if you can understand and you're aware that you are rude sometimes, that you say things out of pocket sometimes, that you say things carelessly sometimes, that should let you know that's darkness inside of you and you've notified it and you refuse to do anything about it. Put me in my place oftentimes comes with this, like I said, this verbiage, this ability to be verbally, I would almost say verbally abusive, right? You're saying that you are on, you want to say and verbally abusive and toxic because you say and you do as you please, and you're in need of that male to restrain your behavior. And it's like, oh no, he's too loving, he's too nice, he's too kind. I think the guy's gonna put me in my place. Sis, he's too nice, he's too loving, he's too kind. Guess what? Who Jesus is? He's the same kind of guy. And so, and the reason why a lot of you guys are putting me in my place is because you are used to punishment. And when I say this, I wanna break something down. Many of us can't accept Christ's love because we are used to, I do bad and I get punishment. Yeah? And we are used to being caned. And when I say caned, I'm not talking about corporate punishment. I'm talking about the fact that and actually, that was part of it as well. But also as well, the way that our parents handled our faults and our flaws. Instant punishment, you know, screaming, shouting, you know what I'm saying? All up in your grill. And that's not how God operates. It's so funny. That's not how Jesus operates. You see, that's why we call it grace. Grace is the ability, it's the blessing that you didn't deserve. Your behavior doesn't correlate to what you got graced with. Okay? And so what God is saying is, listen, as you're trying to do bad, I'm trying to do more good to you. As you're doing bad, I'm trying to show you more love. Why? Because I cannot get you out of your dysfunction by punishing you. You understand? Like he's not going to, it can't get you out of dysfunction. When you're in a loving relationship with Jesus Christ, he's not trying to punish you to get you out of a situation. Do you understand? What he's going to do is going to love you. He may step away from the situation and say, I'm going to let you do what you're going to do. And you will learn through the consequences of life. But when he's trying to get at you, he issues love towards you. He issues love towards you. And so that's why when we come crawling back to God, we're like, God, I don't know why you love me. I don't know why you care for me. You know, I'm dysfunctional. I'm da-da-da-da. And so how do we get rid of that dysfunction within ourselves when we're dealing with God? It's to read the Bible. It's to renew your mind. And in your relationships, you need to renew your mind. This put me in my place is a dysfunction. It's dysfunctional. Yeah? And oftentimes, and I'm gonna break some things. Because we're talking about obviously the ability, especially when people say, I need a man to put my place, when they have a way of saying things, right, that other men wouldn't probably take too kindly, yeah? And so, I'm going to put this term, is it truth or is it just rudeness? You see, sometimes people think they're being truthful, but actually just being rude. There was no need for you to say anything, but you just wanted to say it. You wanted to be rude, right? And because your lack of restraint, again, because you felt like, I wanted to tell the person this because, I can, you know what I mean? And they deserve to hear it. But did they deserve to hear it? Or you're making judgment calls? You're suddenly God now. So now when you say certain things, actually it comes out really rude and really hurtful, really spiteful. And the question is, why are people actually rude? Well, one of the reasons why is it's low self-esteem, lacking of self-confidence. Okay, and so sometimes Sometimes there's a lack of, like I said, there's a lack of self-confidence, and the reason why I said this because once I make you look weak, I look strong. You know what I'm saying? Another reason why people can be rude is because you know what they're. Another reason why, obviously, as well, again, is that they lack understanding sometimes of human behavior, and that is that they just want to. They think that what they said doesn't. They don't realize the full extent of the impact of their words to somebody, right? And potentially this is learned behavior. When you grew up in a household where words were said and actions were done, whenever you felt right and justified, you just did what you felt was right. And it wasn't checked because you saw it from your parents first, maybe. Saw it in your environment that you were in school, saw it, and it's this continual affirmations that this is correct behavior, when really it's not. It's dysfunctional, it's out of place. And so I want to say this again about the thing. You see, when we're dealing with God and dealing with Jesus, right? The Bible talks about how, and a lot of people can't understand why, for instance, salvation. They say, oh, how is it that God can, how is it that you can only go to hell because you don't believe in Jesus, so you're not going to go to hell for the sins that you've committed? And it's like, nah, bro. Nah, do you know why? Because here, the way that God loves us, yeah, He's already paid the price, number one. Number two, do you know the reason why I don't try to sin now? It's not because I'm fearful of hell. Nope, that's not even on my mind no more. What I don't want to do is I see the love that He's given me, and I'm like, I don't want to disrespect a man. You understand? So a lot of your issues here we're talking about is your nature of what you understand on why you respect somebody and what you consider to be respectful. The problem is your perception of what I should respect. Do you see? So this is what I'm saying about dysfunctional, because you see the Bible talks about that we shouldn't show more respect to somebody who's rich than to somebody who's poor. It's the rich people that are even lording it over you and the ones that are even oppressing you. And so yet we're seeing more respect for the rich person, more respect for the bad boy, more respect for the guy that's, I'm the aggressor, I'm showing you that I'm a man, rather than just a man who's showing you love and care. And you're seeing it as lack of strength. Why? Because your perception and understanding of what respect is, or what a respectful behavior is askew. That's why you won't put me in my place. And so a lot of times this put me in my place also when people feel like they're not in a place with somebody who's strong. And I know the biology, and I know the natural instincts, because we're talking about a time where if we've grown up in evolution, then a man would need to protect a woman because the predators that will come, other men that will come, etc., etc. I get that. I do get that. So that there's a natural instinct in that aspect. I get it. You know what I mean? I understand that. But the truth of the matter is, like I said, a lot of times it's because our ideas of what respect is, and so people who said, obviously, put me in my place, then start testing the partner to see how much can I get away with. Doesn't that show you dysfunction? Why are you testing a person? You know what I mean? Like, that shows you that you're not. I don't test God. I don't want to test. You see, when you love someone, yeah, you're not trying to test them to see how far you can get away with it. Children do that. Not adults, not those who are fully functional and are matured emotionally. Do that. So deep it. You understand? And the testing of somebody is the testing of it. How far can I go? It's the exact same thing as what someone does when they're jealous. When they're insecure. So they go and they make their partner jealous to see how their partner will cling on to them, or what their partner will say to them, and that will give them security. No, you're insecure. You know what I'm saying? And so there's an unhealthy over-romanticism over authority and leadership in the incorrect ways. There are different styles of leadership. If you only know one way, and you only know one authoritarian type of leadership, then I can understand why you've got an askew view on what to respect as leadership. If you think that a man to lead has got to lay, I'm not even saying that, a man who's got to lead has got to be all up, bossy, up in your face. There are different types of leadership, my friends. You got to understand that. Maybe you should go and do some research on leadership so you can understand how leadership actually really works. There's different ways to do it. And so I want to end on this note. There is a need for you to curb your desire. Yeah. There's a need for you to be self-reliant and be able to be self-disciplined. I understand that put me in my place has some positive connotations that you are saying. You want a man to lead. You want him to be protective and loving of you. You want him to take charge and etc., etc. That's fine. No beef. But say that. Do not say put me in my place, because put me in my place has its own connotations that come with it and its own understanding and its own meaning. Get away from that meaning, okay? It's dysfunctional and it's toxic. I'm going to bid you adieu. I hope you like this video. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, and we appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded.